Hey, I want to welcome you to Impact Ministries Facebook Live. My name's Ken Adams. I'm the founder and director of Impact Ministries, also the lead pastor at Crossroads Church. And we're really excited that you're joining us today. And we want to share with you a little bit about Impact Ministries, disciple making. We want to come alongside you, encourage you, and support you in any way that we can. So thanks for joining us. I got a couple of special guests with me this month. This is Ron Kanzler.
Hey, guys.
And Ron is one of the consultants that works with Impact Ministries, and he does a lot of our training and teaching and some consulting. And then we got Paul Smith. Paul is also a consultant with Impact Ministries, and Paul does a lot of work with churches and pastors and helping to set up some of our seminars and training and follow through with some of those and resources. And so, guys, good to have both of you today, man.
Glad
to be here with us, man.
Thank you, Ken.
I've invited Ron and Paul to help me share with you really a couple of exciting opportunities that we have at Impact, things that we're committed to, and ways that we're really trying to help resource pastors and church leaders figure out what it means to make disciples. And so you guys are very much a part of both of these. And so I want to take a few minutes and I want to talk about really two of those things. The first one we're going to talk about is what we call the Disciple Making Church Seminar. And we've been doing this for a while now and have done it in a number of places, but there is a training event that we do, a way to come along with churches and leaders and resource them and help them figure out how to really launch a disciple-making strategy in their church. And so we do this event called a Disciple-Making Church Seminar. Paul, you've been very involved with those. So just as a summary, just start off, explain for everybody what is a Disciple-Making Church Seminar, and what does it look like?
Okay. Thank you, Ken. You know, you mentioned the word committed a moment ago. One of the things that we've been committed to in our ministry is to learn Jesus' style of disciple making.
That's good.
So we've really given all our efforts and energy toward that because we want to learn to walk as Jesus walked. It's pretty simple, really. So as we began to examine that, we noticed that Jesus has a target for every disciple, okay? He spells it out pretty clearly in Luke 6:40, where he says, a disciple, when he's fully trained, will be like his teacher.
Yeah, that's good.
And Jesus began to train those disciples to be like him, okay? All of us that are mature Christians know we want to be like Christ. So we talk about the target. That target is to be more like Jesus. Let me expand on that into the strategy. How did Jesus use his methods to get the church to where they would look more like Jesus, okay? And so from there we move on into the environment. Jesus had a certain environment that he formed with those apostles, okay, so that he could help them mature and be complete in him, following his methods. And then the next stage is Jesus began to show us that what God really desires more than anything is shepherds or leaders after his own heart, who can lead with knowledge and understanding. It's very clearly stated in Jeremiah 3:15. So we help a church through a seminar. It's usually a one-day seminar that we put together with them, and that's what we call the Disciple-Making Church.
Yeah.
Hope you're interested, folks.
Yeah, that's good. So it's really based around 4 sessions. And so we do a teaching session, and then we have usually some small group environment to process that and think through that and all that kind of stuff. Now, Ron, so you've been on both sides of that. So you've been a pastor that has had Disciple-Making Church Seminar at your church, but then you also, now you're a trainer and you're helping to do that. So what would be some of the benefit? What would be some of the reasons why a church, a pastor, or some lay leaders might want to host or have a Disciple-Making Church Seminar? Man, what do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, so as someone who pastored a church and you have a desire to see your church living out the mission and the purpose of Jesus, sometimes it's difficult maybe sometimes to get that out to the masses. And so this is a great way to invite someone for us to come in and to begin to spend a day really immersed in the strategy and the target of what it looks like to be a disciple of Jesus Christ. And so the benefit is that it's a great way to introduce your folks to discipleship and what Jesus laid out for what a disciple looks like and how one is made. And man, if you're just kind of dipping your toe in the discipleship pool just a little bit, here's what I can promise you is that after a day spent, you'll see that it is not easy to do, but it's simple. It's a simple process. It is doable. It is doable.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And Paul, we just recently did one of these at a church on a Saturday, not too far from where we are, and we had an opportunity to come into really an older, established church and kind of give them a brand new, fresh understanding of what it means to become not just a church with discipleship,
Right.
but a disciple-making church.
That's right.
And so you and I both kind of heard some of the feedback. What were some of the people saying as a result of that?
Well, I'll tell you, it was very interesting to get the feedback, and actually some feedback came in the form of a letter to us, okay? And that following Sunday, we did this on Saturday, and the following Sunday, the people that were leaders, these were all leaders within the church that were at this workshop, along with the prayer team that had been praying for it, and they felt like they had been in revival. And they couldn't quit talking about it, okay? And that's exactly what we're trying to achieve when we're out here helping your churches.
Yeah, that's great, Paul. And the cool thing about a Disciple Making Church seminar is that the principles fit whatever approach that you're going to take, because they are principles right out of the life of Christ, right?
That's right.
And so you can't go wrong with that. And so if you're interested in hosting or having one of those at your church, you can just check us out at impactdisciples.com. You can get click the link and find out more about how to do that. We can even really tailor make the seminar to fit your schedule, your structure, whatever the case may be. But we would love to come alongside of you, and we will make it work financially. We will make it work for your church, because we just really want to see churches become disciple-making churches. And so another thing we do, we just have started, haven't been doing it near as long as we have the disciple-making church, but I think it's going to be really, really huge, and that is we've just started a brand new online equipping group for pastors. And so we call it the Making of a Disciple-Making Pastor, because disciple-making pastors aren't born, they're made, right? And so we have an online equipping group. We've just gotten it started. We are just about to finish our very first group. And so Ron, you've been a part of that group. Tell us what it's like, how's it work, and why would somebody want to be a part of it?
Yeah, so it's been amazing, really, just to be with these other pastors, and we do it online. We're all right there together, even though we're in different parts of the country. And what's great is that not only do you get that one-on-one coaching, but you get to study what the life of Christ looks like in the leader, the life of a pastor. And let's just be honest, how the pastor goes, the church goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so as a pastor, I can't think of anything better that you'd want to first be a disciple of Christ, but then to lead your church to be a disciple-making church. And so you might be thinking, how do I do that? How do you develop that heart? Well, this is really what this is about, is that you watch some videos, there's a workbook, there's some homework, but really one of the greatest things is that interaction with other pastors who are doing life together. They're bouncing things off each other. They're going through stuff together. And more importantly, they're not just looking at what they're doing, they're looking at what Jesus did.
Absolutely.
I mean, how did he lead the very first church? How did he lead? How did he leverage his influence with those first disciples so that when the church was launched, they had the right knowledge and the right understanding, that they knew how to lead leaders well, that they knew how to lead toward a mission, that they knew first how to lead themselves well. And all this stuff is covered in this 5 to 6 months together, and quite honestly, one of the best things I've ever done.
Wow, that's cool. And what I love about that, Ron, is that's not a program.
No.
And that's what principles and priorities right out of the life of Christ.
Sure. That's right.
And man, he is the master disciple maker. So if we're looking to him, we can't really go wrong,
Cannot
right?
go wrong. Nope.
And so that's a great way of describing it. And basically, what we do is every month we gather together through a Zoom call. Right now, we got a group. We got a guy that's a part of it from from Texas, a guy from New York, a guy from Alabama, a couple guys from Georgia, a guy from Florida. And so it really allows us to come together without all the cost of travel and all that stuff. It makes it really, really doable, doesn't it? And
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So it's a good thing. You're getting ready to start a brand new group, right?
So would love to ask you if you're interested. February 4th, 2 p.m. Next week is when we're going to start it. But, what you need to do is really click on the link below. We'll send you some information. It's not a lot to get started. Don't let finances be a barrier. We'll work with you. I'm just telling you, whatever you pay, you're going to get back tenfold in your own life and in the life of your church.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, Paul, you've been a part of one of these equipping groups as well.
Yes.
And so you're not necessarily a pastor, but you're a key lay leader in your church, and you relate to a lot of pastors, connect with a lot of them. What do you think is the big takeaway? What's the big benefit?
Well, great question, Ken. For me, as I've been going through it with the pastors and that, it's just to find the real connection between pastors and their heart for God and their need for encouraging one another, building up one another in the Lord, okay, so that they can be more fruitful as disciples of Christ themselves, and then turn that around and help that church to become fruitful. It is our Father's will that we bear much fruit, okay? And that's what it begins to help the pastors get this picture. But also helps the pastors understand more of Jesus' methods on disciple making. And it helps the pastors evaluate where they're at as a leader and what they need to be doing within the church over a period of time, so they walk away from this feeling much more equipped to be and to lead the church, to be a disciple themselves, but also to lead the church to be a disciple-making church.
Yeah, that's really good. And so both of these, Disciple-Making Church Seminar, the Making of a Disciple-Making Pastor Equipping Group, if I had to say, maybe you can do either one first or second, whatever, but I would have to say the Disciple-Making church might be a great place to start. And so then we come alongside the pastor and kind of help reinforce his leadership as he begins to help the church become a disciple-making church. And guys, I appreciate y'all sharing that, because you're both very much a part of helping us lead and develop those. But while I got you here, because we may not get this opportunity again, but while I got you here, man, I just want to hear just for a minute, you guys are sold out, bought in. You are all in on disciple making. And so wow, we've got some folks here that share that same heart and that same vision. Paul, let's start with you, man. Tell me why being a disciple and building disciples is a part of who you are. Why is it so important to you in your life?
Thank you, Ken. Great question. Well, first of all, I grew up around the church, okay? I knew about the church. I knew about Jesus. I knew about God, okay? And, I go to some church services and as I was growing up as a child.
You weren't a total heathen?
But it was at 32 is where I really came to have a personal relationship with God through faith in Jesus Christ. And a man at our church came out, visited me in the home, and led me to Christ that day. The next day I picked up my Bible. I could hardly set it down. I began to have a real zeal for God, and I went through some troublesome spots, okay? And I recognized that even in my own zeal for God, I needed more help. So I went seeking somebody to disciple me. And I have to be honest, a Delta airline captain discipled me for about 18 months. And we would meet one-on-one at his residence. And it changed my whole life. It changed my whole life. It gave me a much greater passion for following God, changed my heart in some ways. And later on, I had to have more heart change, but I watched God do something in me that was unexplainable, that I could not do from my flesh. And so one of the things about being in a disciple-making group and holding one another accountable to the Lord, using God's standard, using Jesus' methods, okay? Then you and I, we can all be mature and complete. That's exactly what Christ wants for us. He wants us to be fully trained disciples of Christ.
So, Paul, don't take this the wrong way, but at your stage of life, most people are putting it on cruise control, right? And you're not, man, right?
No, man, no, sir. I am not on cruise control. My passion is continually grown. You know, I've even had some health challenges lately that have knocked me back a little, slowed me down, but it helped me to narrow my focus, okay, to what really counts. And so I want to live for eternity, Ken. That's really what I want to live for. And it's what we do that leads us toward eternity for the lives of others and for ourselves. I mean, we live I have an eternal life right now. Christ in me, the hope of glory. Okay, and so I want to share that with everybody.
Yeah, living for eternity. That's good, buddy. Good stuff. So, Ron, how about you, man? What is it in your life that has brought you to this point where you are very committed and very passionate about being a disciple and building disciples?
Well, it certainly has been other people that have gotten me to this place. I mean, just like you said, Paul, it was another person coming alongside me. And so, you know, I grew up in church, you know, heard about discipleship, but it wasn't really until I was in seminary, believe it or not, that I actually understood that Jesus' plan for discipleship was very strategic. He had a very focused way of training those men. And not just that, but it was something that we ourselves could emulate, that we ourselves could put into practice. And so for me, it was just, I don't know, it's like the scales came off about what it meant to live the Christian life, that I was supposed to be a disciple, but to build disciples. And so realizing that there were characteristics in Jesus' life that I could measure in my own life and then help pour into other people's lives was really life-changing for me. And so after graduating, it just became a part of who I was. And I certainly haven't done it perfectly, but the passion for seeing that happen hasn't changed, because quite honestly, as I get older, I realize, you know, we aren't guaranteed another day.
That's right.
But I do know this, that if I'm pouring into someone else and teaching them to make a disciple that makes disciples, then my influence for Christ will go on long past my life on this earth.
Wow,
and that's one of the greatest.
Again, living for eternity, right?
Living for eternity.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. And at your stage of life, man.
I mean, I'll be turning 30 next week. So.
Wow, man. So anyway, man, thank you guys. Man, that's great to hear your heart. And also great to hear some of the opportunities, man. We really are committed to helping pastors and church leaders and churches figure out what it means to make disciples the way Jesus wanted it done 2,000 years ago, man. And so thank you guys for coming, joining me, sharing and being a part of what we're doing here. And
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so anyway, we're going to wrap it up for this month, and we just want to let you know if we can serve you in any way, we'd love to do that. Go to our website, impactdisciples.com. We've got lots of resources there, videos, blogs. Really, we want it to be a place where you can come and get information that will help you. And so contact us, let us know what questions you might want us to talk about here on Impact Facebook Live. And if you will, like us on Facebook, and then also share this with your pastor, leaders in your church, so that we can help more people learn what it means to be a disciple-making church. So again, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again next time.